If you only looked at the final score, you'd think this was just another big night for the Indiana Fever. But anyone who actually watched what happened knows it was something much bigger. By the time the final buzzer sounded, the record books were scrambling to keep up. Caitlin Clark wasn't just scoring points, she was rewriting history possession after possession. And somehow, even with all the headlines about her career night, one incredible detail still managed to fly under the radar. She joined one of the most exclusive groups in basketball history, alongside a handful of NBA superstars whose names are already legendary. The difference? They needed far more time to accomplish what Clark did in less than 30 minutes. That alone would have been enough to dominate sports news for days, but this wasn't a one-player show. While everyone expected Seattle's defense to throw everything at Clark, another Fever star quietly turned those plans into a disaster before the game had even settled in. Kelsey Mitchell came out with one mission: attack before the Storm could even catch their breath. Seattle entered the matchup with one of the league's most respected defensive units. The idea sounded simple enough on paper. Make Caitlin Clark uncomfortable, force someone else to carry the offense. Pressure the ball, crowd the passing lanes, and never allow Indiana's superstar to find a rhythm. For about 5 minutes, that strategy looked reasonable. Then, Kelsey Mitchell caught fire. Every touch seemed dangerous. Every jumper looked automatic. She wasn't waiting for the offense to develop or searching for the perfect shot. She trusted her instincts, attacked open space, and punished every defensive mistake Seattle made. Before fans could even process what was happening, Mitchell had completely flipped the game. Three-pointer, pull-up jumper, fast break finish, another three. The Storm defenders weren't making terrible mistakes. Mitchell was simply playing at a level that almost nobody could stop. By the end of the opening quarter, she'd piled up 17 points. That's the kind of scoring explosion that instantly changes the mood inside an arena. Every possession felt like another chance for history. Every time Mitchell crossed half court, the crowd expected something special. It wasn't just a hot shooting stretch. It became one of the greatest opening quarters the Indiana Fever had ever seen. That changed everything. Seattle's coaching staff suddenly faced a problem they hadn't expected. The defensive attention designed for Clark had to shift toward Mitchell because leaving her alone had become impossible. Every extra defender pulled toward Mitchell meant another crack in Seattle's defensive wall. And that's exactly where Caitlin Clark becomes most dangerous. The biggest misconception about Clark is that people think she's only dangerous when she's scoring 30 or 40 points. In reality, she's often at her best when defenses become confused about who they're supposed to stop. Basketball isn't always won by the player taking the shot. Sometimes it's won by the player forcing impossible decisions. Seattle had entered the night believing the answer was obvious. Stop Clark. Now there wasn't an obvious answer anymore. Help on Mitchell, and Clark gets space. Stay attached to Clark, and Mitchell keeps cooking. Double both, and someone else gets an open look. That's the nightmare every defense fears. While television cameras naturally followed the stars, something equally important was happening underneath the basket. Indiana wasn't simply making difficult shots, they were creating extra possessions. Loose balls suddenly belonged to the Fever, missed shots turned into second opportunities. Every offensive rebound stole momentum away from Seattle and handed Indiana another chance to score. Those extra possessions don't always make highlight reels, but they decide games. Every rebound meant another attack. Every attack increased pressure. Every point made Seattle even more desperate. And desperation changes basketball games faster than almost anything else. As the first half continued, Clark still hadn't delivered the explosive scoring performance everyone expected. For some players, that might create frustration. Superstars sometimes force bad shots when they haven't found their rhythm. Clark never looked rushed. Instead, she watched. She studied every defensive adjustment. She noticed where the double teams arrived. She saw which defender hesitated for just half a second. Those tiny details matter. Basketball at the highest level isn't simply about athletic ability. It's about recognizing patterns before anyone else does. Seattle believed they were controlling the game because Clark wasn't dominating the scoring column yet. What they didn't realize was that every defensive adjustment they made was quietly building toward something much bigger. Mitchell's incredible first-half performance. The longer the game stayed close, the more obvious it became that Seattle had fallen into a trap of its own making. Every defensive adjustment created another problem somewhere else on the floor. The Storm had spent so much energy trying to prevent one superstar from taking over that they had opened the door for everyone around her to thrive. Caitlin Clark could feel it. She wasn't forcing difficult shots or trying to chase highlights. Instead, she let the game come to her. That's what separates great players from truly elite ones. They understand that basketball isn't about winning every possession. It's about owning the moments that matter most. As the second half began, the atmosphere inside the arena changed. The crowd sensed something special was building. Every time Clark crossed half court, thousands of fans rose from their seats before she even made a move. They weren't just watching another game anymore, they were waiting for history. Seattle still refused to back down. Every possession became more physical. Defenders fought over screens, bumped cutters, and challenged every drive to the basket. The message was clear. If Indiana wanted this win, it would have to earn every single point. Clark accepted the challenge. Instead of settling for deep three-pointers, she attacked the paint with confidence. Every drive forced another defender to rotate. Every rotation created another opportunity. Sometimes she finished through contact herself. Other times she calmly found an open teammate for an easy basket. That's what makes defending Clark so exhausting. You can't simply take away one part of her game. Stop the shot and she'll become a passer. Cut off the passing lanes and she'll attack the rim. Protect the paint and she'll pull up from well beyond the three-point line. There is no perfect answer, only difficult choices. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell never cooled off completely. Even after her incredible start, she continued demanding attention from Seattle's defense. Her movement without the ball forced defenders to chase her through screens, around the perimeter, and into transition. Those constant sprints began wearing Seattle down. Basketball is often described as a game of runs, but those runs usually start long before the scoreboard shows it. Fatigue builds quietly, legs get heavier, reactions become slower, communication isn't quite as sharp. Indiana recognized those signs immediately. Instead of slowing the pace, the Fever pushed even harder. Fast breaks became more frequent, the ball moved quicker, open looks started appearing everywhere. Seattle still had enough talent to answer. Every time Indiana threatened to pull away, the Storm found a response of their own. A timely three-pointer here, a tough finish inside there. The game refused to become comfortable for either side. That tension only made Clark more dangerous. Great players often produce their best basketball when the pressure reaches its highest point. Rather than shrinking under the expectations, they embrace them. Clark has built her reputation on exactly those moments. With every possession becoming more important, she seemed calmer than everyone else on the floor. The numbers were already impressive. The impact was even bigger. She wasn't just scoring, she was controlling the rhythm of the game itself. One possession would end with a perfectly timed pass that led to an easy basket. The next would feature a confident pull-up jumper. Then she'd sprint back on defense and disrupt the next play before Seattle could settle into its offense. Those are the sequences that don't always appear in highlight videos.